Hey there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Cindy Daycheck with Queen Bee Creations. So, this is fall, and I don't know why, but I woke up this morning with this fall idea. And I don't know where it came from. I'm sure I saw, usually what happens is somehow in my brain, when I'm sleeping, a mishmash of things that I've seen recently kick in and my brain sort of Frankensteins them together. So I likely saw something, I saw something about lines and somebody drawing on ink, and I don't know. Anyway, anyway, what we're gonna do is sort of a stylized field of pumpkins. That's the best I can do to describe it. I have no idea. I haven't done this. I don't have one sitting off to the side that looks perfect. I have this. I have my piece of paper. That's it. And I got my inks. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a combination of some watercolor and ink. And I'm going to walk you through it. So if it turns out cool, then you're good to go. If it turns out semi-cool, but I have ideas on how it could be better, I'll give those to you. And if it just totally sucks, then, laugh along with me. So here's the deal. I want to show you that to play with this stuff, I am not investing in super expensive tools. So I have an old board, right? That it's got junk all over it. I have a piece of watercolor paper that I bought from the dollar store for $3. So it is not an expensive piece of watercolor because guess what? I'm not a professional watercolor artist. So I'm not looking to invest in super expensive, heavy gauge paper and stuff because I wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. And I just have a little set. So it's just this. This is, and this is Chinese. So, they have a little chart here with the colors. They're not even written on there. And they're in Chinese and then English. So it's just one tray of color. I have a pencil, I have a couple of brushes that are just sort of pointy, and those are from the dollar store. They're not expensive brushes. I got some water to be able to wash my brushes out with. I now have a dirty old rag that I can wipe my brush off on. And I have spritzed my watercolor palette. This is a palette of colors with water. I have a couple of little melamine dishes just to be able to put some of the colors on and to be able to blend them. That's it. That's all we're working on. And I picked these up from the dollar store or old food tubs, like enough that you see this one had stewed apples in it. So somebody used it for their kids. Their kids are grown. They don't need it anymore. I pick them up because then I mix paint and I do stuff with it. And why am I buying brand new ones to do that? Doesn't make sense. So I'm going to take you overhead so you can watch the whole creative process. I think it can be cool. It just is can I execute what's in my brain? Sometimes my brain's a scary place. So sometimes it's maybe a good thing I can't. Anyway, we're going to get started. So here we go. Okay, I think I've squished things in here so you can see. Here's the first thing. We're going to draw some lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just this rough kind of shape, circle, half circle shape. And you notice I didn't make it perfect. I don't want any of this to look perfect. So nothing's looking perfect. And then we're going to just draw a rough shape coming out around it. So none of these, I've kind of got them going smaller and bigger, and that's what we want. So we're just drawing kind of like a rainbow kind of thing but they're going wider and thinner, and when it goes off the paper, that's okay. Just draw it off the paper. So we're just drawing these kind of concentric, is that the word? I don't know. Now I'm making stuff up. There we go. So we have kind of this rainbow effect, but it's all very loose. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with our oranges. I'm going to start with this one. And what I'm going to do first is I have orange in my palette. So I'm going to try and drop a bunch of orange onto my dish first. Okay. Rinse off my brush just a little bit, get rid of that orange. And now I'm going to take, I'm trying to look at the actual color chart names so you have an idea. This one says it's gold ochre, just because I don't want all of them to, like as I'm doing the pumpkins, I don't want them to all be perfectly symmetrically orange. Does that make sense? So this one says it is deep yellow. Oh, that's an interesting color. Okay, I don't know how much of that kind of neon bright something we're going to use. And then the other color that I thought that I wanted was a little bit of raw sienna. There's also a burnt sienna here and a burnt umber. They might be a little too dark for my pumpkins. We'll save those for later. All right, that's enough to get started. So this is kind of my palette. And what I'm looking at is I'm going to alternate. I'm going to do the farmers planted in rows kind of idea. So I'm going to start with pumpkins and I'm going to skip every line. And what I'm going to do is just kind of draw. Let me start here first. I don't want to touch the line that I drew. I'm just going to take some rough water here. I can sort of see it because it's got a bit of orange. And I'm just going to drop in some of my orange color into that. And it's okay if I go over the line because that's pretty orange, isn't it? Let's drop in a bit of the brown. You can take another brush and you can lift some of your color out, or if I'd been smart and brought a paper towel, all right, I'm just using a rag that's beside me. You can lay it over and lift a bit of color out because I didn't know what I was doing and these are strong colors and I put a little too much in there. So now I'm taking a bit of that. What color was that? Raw sienna. And I'm just dropping a little bit of that in. Okay, that is our pumpkin. It's our first pumpkin. So now, I think I might want a slightly darker brown. What one's a darker brown? This is a burnt umber. Let's just get him on the plate. Yes. And just see how that goes. Okay, perfect. And now I'm going to just follow the line, my curve, and I'm going to do another. That's a really potent orange, even without a lot of paint. Okay, so I am just going to continue doing this, and I am just dropping in a bit of my color. I am drawing, yes, square pumpkins. It'll be okay. Usually try and leave a line, but you know, mine decided to merge. My pumpkins have a will of their own. A little bit of deepness. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna skip a row. So here, this next row, I'm gonna leave, and then I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm just gonna draw little squares, however they work, in that next row, and then the next row, and then the next row out. So I'm gonna continue to do the same thing and just dropping in my color, creating in essence these little sort of pumpkin-esque looks and shapes. And again, I deliberately didn't want them to be perfectly round, hence the stylized, right? So then if I'm skipping a row, and I'll just show you this next one, then I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna draw my next square right here. And then I'll continue on in this row, and then I'll skip a row. So I'm gonna get my orange pumpkins in there and just kind of roughly following my lines. And then we'll come back for the next part of this. Now that our orange is dry, and you can go back once it's dry and start dropping in more color, like up here it's a little bit more faded. If you wanted it to be deeper or more intense, it's yours. You get to do what you want. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna set up my little tray, and I wanna do some greens. So this one says that it is a deep green, and it appears to be very deep. And I've got clean water over here now. This one says it's sap green, which looks quite bright. I'm gonna take a little bit of that raw sienna again. Again, you want to use some of the same colors that you did. You want some continuity, you know, that leaves by orange. You're going to pick up some of the orange. We're going to take some of that burnt umber again. A little more water on this guy. And there is this one that says it's a blue-green, which could be more of a teal. But you know what? Why the heck not? Oops, into the wrong one. Why the heck not? And I want to grab some of that orange again with my totally green still brush. Okay, let me clean that a little better, because this is all very, very green looking. All right. Whoa. All right. So what I want to do now, and my water is all very mucky now, and that's okay. I'm going to paint water all kind of in between here. And again, I don't really want to be touching my pumpkins if I can avoid it. And now I'm just going to start dropping in some of my greens. So, you know, if I want a little bit more water to have them flow, then I can drop in some of my browns. You're just playing. But I'm not trying to create anything individual here. I'm just letting the colors kind of flow. And then we'll see where we go. So I'm dropping in some of the browns here and there. and I'm not trying to be super precise about this. I'm going to clean off a little bit, and I am going to drop in a little bit of orange. Just kind of here and there in the middles. All right, doesn't look like much yet, does it? I am thinking I want this to be a little bit dark, because when this all dries, we're going to do some ink over top of it. And I am envisioning white ink for the green areas. So just so you know, that's kind of where we're going with that part, which is why I want it dark. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the next 3 sections, and then I'm going to let it fully dry before we come back. All right, this is mostly dry. I would like to say it's all dry, but I get impatient. So at this stage, it's looking like what I expected, but it's obviously not finished. But what we're going to do is I have some black gel markers and I have some white jelly roll markers. So the idea with this is that we are going to take the black, and I'm just kind of experimenting here with size. So I want it a little bit bigger than that. A little thicker, I mean. That's better. And so I'm going to take the black, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to outline each of my little pumpkins. So I'm going to outline each of them in black. And what I envision is I may go and add details to them after. But what I want to do is get the outlining first and start to get an idea of how busy they look. I mean, if you're doing this with kids, you can get them to outline in every pumpkin they could draw a face in. So if they're really working off the pumpkin theme, which would be, I think, pretty cool, and especially if they're trying to do different faces on everything, they could be there a while. And keeping your kids occupied with something for a while is kind of a cool idea. So I'm going to outline each pumpkin. You don't need to see me do each of that, but I want to get those done. And then with the green sections, I'm going to be taking my jelly roll pen, and I am going to just start drawing leaves. And I'm going to draw some big, like this one. And I'm going to draw some small. So different sizes and going different directions. I'm not looking at a complicated design. I'm kind of doing them all the same, right? Just quick veining. But I'm going to do that over the entire surface. I'm waiting to see whether I also outline it in black. But I'm going to do those 2 things first and get that all done, and then we'll reconvene for what else I do beyond that. So start simple first, but you can see where it all starts to pop already, right? All right, so you can see already like that detail has made a difference, but it's not enough. So the first thing that I want to do is I think I need to go and I need to outline in black these green bands, just to make them stand out a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of follow the edging and outline all of those throughout the whole piece. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. The next thing I'm going to do is I think just for fun. So again, you could do little faces if you wanted. You could just do some little lines, some little striations in these. I think I'm going to do them sort of like how you might a Zentangle. So I'm going to do each row the same, but each row different, if that makes sense. So I think that this row, I'm just going to follow the outline of each and just do almost like a, what is that, a Greek key design? So each row is going to be a different pattern, but you know, because why not? All right, I'm going to fill this in and then we'll see where we're at. I'm having fun. Right, so here's our finished stylized pumpkin patch. You can see that I elected to stay all with linear as opposed to dots or anything like that. So all that remains is for us to see if we can find a frame somewhere to finish it off. Now, bear in mind, you can use exactly the same technique to do anything. It doesn't have to be a pumpkin patch. Maybe you don't like pumpkins. Maybe you don't like fall. Maybe you want to do exactly the same kind of thing, but you want to do it with pinks and blues or purples. That's okay. That's okay. I did a pumpkin patch. You can do whatever. Do any kind of flower bed. Maybe it's a Holland tulip garden, right? So you have multiple rows. Well, that just took off a bunch of paper. Maybe you've got multiple rows of different colored tulips and green leaves. Only I probably know this is a pumpkin patch, and that's okay too. This is kind of a thing of just creativity. I don't know why I woke up with this idea in my head. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I managed to execute it exactly like what was in my head. That's okay. That's okay too. You'll never know what was in my head. So I could say I did it exact. But then you might worry about my head. I don't know. I think that this kind of exercise, though, is a lot of fun for just letting your creativity flow. There's no right or wrong. There's nobody to say that you didn't execute this exactly how you wanted, exactly how you chose, and exactly how you envisioned it. So I'm going with, this is exactly how I wanted it to turn out. And I'm okay with that. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. Let me know if you're going to give it a try. Pumpkin patch, tulip patch, whatever it happens to be. I'd love to hear from you. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. And until then, take care.